Live from New York City, it's the Gary Null Show. And now, your host, Gary Null.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gary Null. We're here to empower people. What's nice about this particular program, and why I hope that you share the information with others, is because it doesn't care what your body politics, ideologies, your religion, your age, your educational level. None of that is relevant to living a longer and healthier life with good information, providing that you get good information. The information I share all comes from peer-reviewed literature. We cite everything. For example, Baylor College of Medicine, very respected institution. And the article was on PubMed, the National Library of Medicine's repository, the best scientific literature there is. Talks about olive leaf. Now, you can buy olive leaf extract. Why? Why should you? Because if you suffer from endometriosis, very painful, very debilitating, this helps. Now, the olive leaf extract also helps you with viral infections. It helps you with bacteria infections. It's simply one of the best things for your immune system, generally around 1,000 milligrams. But here, the olive leaves can hold the key to treating women with endometriosis. The debilitating condition affects about 15% of women of reproductive age in the United States alone and millions worldwide. Endometriosis is a disease which sees women develop tissue resembling endometrium, that's the lining of the uterus, outside the uterus. It causes chronic inflammation that can lead to the formation of scar tissue within the pelvis and other areas. And due to the estrogenic close link to the condition, current targets have so far aimed to systematically remove estrogen and use anti-inflammatory drugs. Those are toxic, and they don't create a perfect medium for healing. The issue is that these drugs aren't very effective, may even result in adverse side effects. And hence a team have now set out to find more effective options. Previously, they had shown that estrogen receptor beta, which is one of the two receptors that mediate estrogenic effects on cells alongside estrogen receptor alpha, contributes significantly to the condition's progression. And the team found that in cell cultures in their lab, and they use different natural products. Why not? Natural products have almost no side effects. They don't hurt you, and they can help. Look at vitamin C, look at vitamin D, look at zinc, look at quercetin, look at astragalus for helping people with a weakened immune system prevent any kind of virus, infection in the body. So they were looking for compounds that could act as non-hormonal treatment options for the condition. And they found that a oleuropein, oleuropein, a naturally occurring compound found in olive leaves, can selectively inhibit the beta activity, but not the alpha activity. Further, this compound, this phytonutrient, was able to suppress the growth of endometriosis lesions in mice without inducing harm. Additionally, that same chemical treatment was neither toxic to the liver nor did it affect the ability of female mice to have offspring. So all good news for something that has not been able to be treated by the orthodox methods. Now, from Kaiser Permanente, more exercise is linked to less severe COVID outcomes. Go back to the beginning of COVID. Richard Gell and I wrote an article, in fact, 3 articles, and before anything else was done. And we said, we don't know a lot about what is going to be happening. We don't know what the extent of the protocols are going to be that the government gives us. But one thing's for sure, the healthier you are when you do encounter any microbe, any pathogen, any virus, the less of the adverse effects are going to occur. Here's the problem. At that time, we had an awful lot of people who had comorbidities, and they were older. People over the age of 70 who had heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, or obese, and emphysema, dementia, which means that 2 or more of those comorbidities together really increase your risk that if you did come down with COVID, it can be serious and life-threatening. And indeed, that was the case. However, those with healthier immune systems, and those who exercise regularly, had a good quality diet, were not overweight, didn't drink or smoke, those people, yeah, they would get the virus. But in many cases, probably the majority of younger people, they experienced little to no symptoms at all. In effect, they were asymptomatic. And needless to say, in our world today, a lot of people are going to be impacted by almost everything because of our close proximity, commuting, going to ball games, restaurants, going to workspaces. So the key is build up your immune system. I mean, imagine this. Imagine, and I've been a teacher at the college level, university level for 45 years. Imagine how many times a student comes to class, they have the flu or cold, and several other students come down with a flu or cold, but not everyone, and not everyone in the school. Yet walking around a school with hundreds, if not thousands of students, and possibly 5% infected, that means that the molecules are in the air. They're on surface areas. Every doorknob, every desktop. As a result, everyone is going to be pretty much exposed, but not everyone comes down. Why not? Because of your immune system. Therefore, this study from Kaiser Permanente, the more exercise you do, the less severe the COVID outcomes. What we said almost 3 years ago. Now, we went on and pointed out that there were nutrients, all from PubMed, hundreds of studies, hundreds. And we cited them. And we showed you, take this protocol. And we went through the protocol of what to do to keep your immune system strong. It was my belief then and now that we should have a worldwide program, a Marshall program. For those of you who are younger, the Marshall program after World War II helped rebuild our enemies. Germany, Italy, Japan, and made them into industrial giants. They became. And that was a good thing because the whole world prospered because of it. And of course, we were the #1 manufacturer in the world at that time. So we really prospered. That's when our parents, who were the greatest generation, who went through the Great Depression and World War II, 16 years of privations and challenges with no safety nets, they thrived in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. So we can learn lessons. And one of the lessons is the healthier you are, the less likely you are to have serious adverse effects. And it's not just exercising, does it? Yes, it does. But it also vitamins D3, C, quercetin, zinc. By the way, zinc is the superstar. And also herbs like astragalus, echinacea, podiarco. These are superstars. Now, there's no reason we can't have these in our daily diet. You don't have to superdose, just normal doses. But Kaiser members who were physically active prior to being diagnosed with COVID had a lower risk of severe outcomes. That was published in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine. 200,000 adults showed an association between physical activity and improved COVID-19 outcomes across major demographic groups. So wouldn't it make sense that no matter what your background, ethnicity, your age, you should be exercising? Not just because of helping you with COVID, but helping you live a longer life. Because those who maintain healthy, normal body weight and a healthy fat percentage are going to live a longer life. That's simple. Now, you've heard me mention in the past 2 nutrients, glucosamine, that's gluco, G-L-U-C-O-S, amine, that's amino acid, A-M-I-N-E, and chondroitin, Ondroitin. They've been around a long time. And according to Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, one of the most respected in the world, they can keep your colon healthy. That's correct. Supplements of glucosamine and chondroitin sulfate may support colon health via an anti-inflammatory mechanism, according to data from 2 big U.S. cohorts, which, by the way, when used together for joint health, for arthritis, for helping your knees and cartilage, they're also associated with a 23% reduction in the risk of colorectal cancer. That's according to the Nurses' Health Study and the Health Professional Follow-Up Study published in the International Journal of Cancer. That's a group of doctors and a group of nurses, tens of thousands, who've been in this study for decades. And the results of this study suggest a potential beneficial effect of glucosamine and chondroitin supplements on the risk of colorectal cancer that had not previously been observed. So that's new information, according to Dr. Elizabeth Cantor from the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. They analyzed the data of 68,466 women and 27,934 men participating in the nurses study. So that's just good news. Something that simple, that inexpensive. Again, go back to what I've said in the past 1,000 times. Never confuse the complexity of a problem with the simplicity of its solution. And from Rutgers University, the Rutgers Robert Wood Johnson Medical School's Department of Neurology, they found that poor bacteria health or gut microbiome, it's all the same, in your gut may drive multiple sclerosis. And that means then that you need a better diet, can ease it. So very simple. Unhealthy diet, that's the average American diet. Lots of trans fats, saturated fats, arachidonic acid from meat, all bad. All the bacteria and yeast that comes from lots of sugar, including the hit on your liver with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease with high levels of corn fructose, the high fructose corn syrup in our beverages, bad for the gut, bad bacteria. Lots of antibiotics destroys the bacteria, so the good are killed and the bad can proliferate once again when they grow back. Healthy diet, clean diet, plant-based diet, lots of olives and olive oil and avocados and walnuts and plants that you normally wouldn't eat, like rutabaga and parsnips and turnips and cabbage and fermented foods like tempeh and tofu and miso and all of the different sauerkrauts. Those are all loaded with good bacteria. You recolonize the good bacteria in the gut. That recolonized bacteria then stimulates your immune response to your whole body, so you're simply healthier, and that helps prevent multiple sclerosis. I had a clip-on of a person named Kenny, and just see if we can find it. Rodney is the person who's there every day, overseeing the Progressive Radio Network, a great team. And so could you see if you can find the clip where Kenny was on the program talking about how he had in stage multiple sclerosis and couldn't even make it up the steps to the office. And we were doing a study there. And we started on 92nd Street, but I had to first meet the people, and we had to have them go through an entire series of medical tests, all reviewed by our onboard board-certified professor of neurology and published author and medical doctor. And he would then determine, does this person qualify for getting in? We had people with multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, ALS, myasthenia gravis. We had all these conditions. And the study lasted 16 months, and we met every week. And we were there, Luann Panisi, and all the other support team. We had a whole medical input. but none of the protocol was medicine. It was all natural. And it was extensive. Well, the good news was that we showed we could reverse multiple sclerosis. We reversed Alzheimer's. And I actually took these people that reversed it, autism completely reversed. And we took these people that reversed their disease to a scientific conference in Washington, D.C. And I introduced them to thousands of doctors. I was one of the keynote speakers, my peer-reviewed published paper on menopause. But I didn't talk about menopause. That must have freaked them out. These are very boring conferences. The room is dark. There's a big screen, and your article is scrolling down as you're standing there, and they've all got their computers, and they're reading the article. And you don't generally get a lot of feedback, and they're about 22 minutes long each. It's a whole day. Instead, I said, I want to do something completely different, has nothing to do with menopause, and I brought these people out on the stage. And the person that had multiple sclerosis, hands straight out, no agitation, no loss of balance, acute memory, 70-year-old gentleman named Johnson. And we had Thomas, and we had Alzheimer's. We had a wonderful couple. Just couldn't find two nicer people, the Ortegas. Over 20 years, both were New York City police officers out in Bed-Stuy, where they lived. And with protocol and their determination, which was phenomenal, they were able, with the protocol, to reverse their son's autism completely. Not only is he normal, he's exceptional in his academic background, and he even brought out Outstanding Student of the Month, and at one of the best schools in New York City. From being able to grunt but not talk and bang his head on a door when he went to go out to the backyard, to being a highly articulate, extraordinarily talented young person. But all it takes is one. Let's say that you have 100,000 sightings of UFOs, and they're all shown to be weather balloons, some other thing, but not a UFO, unidentified flying object. But one is. You have one legitimate out of 100,000. Let's say you have one out of 1 billion, one out of 1 trillion. You've proven they exist. All it takes is one person with meticulous documentation of all the medical records from the beginning, where there was no hope, to now completely normal. All it takes is one to show it exists. Then it's up for the medical community and the scientific community to say, okay, we don't believe you. Fine, take my protocol. If I'm right, following the protocol, you should have the same outcome. They won't do it. Why? That's an interesting question. Why is it, with all the good work by so many good people, hundreds who have used natural and alternative methods to reverse the disease process in their patients, the mainstream medical community has shown no interest? The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the CDC, National Institutes of Health, National Institutes of Aging, National Institutes of Mental Health, none of them have wanted to see, well, what can we do that is not drug-based? Why do you think that is? Because an individual doctor could go ahead and quietly try, take some patients, autistic patients, ADD patients, ADHD patients, and put them on one of these natural protocols and see, do they get the same results? If they do, then it confirms the first one and allows other people to know about it, but they won't do it. Why do you think they won't do it? Why, with 900,000 physicians and millions of nurses and millions of scientists in the United States, trillions spent, well, over a period of decades, but in the area of just medicine alone, we're spending $4 trillion a year. So why is it that we don't want to know about these? In fact, to the contrary, we attack them. We try to denigrate them. I'd like to hear your response. Please give us a call if you'd like to share why you think we are so reticent to look at the person or persons, there have been many, who are getting good results, but not following the consensus, the mob. 888-874-4888. I'd like to hear what you have to say. In any case, the researchers from Rutgers Robert Wood Johnson Medical School Department of Neurology have traced a previously observed link between microscopic organisms in the digestive tract, collectively known as the gut microbiome, and also its connection to multiple sclerosis. Their study is genetically altered mice and people supports the belief that dietary adjustments such as increasing fiber can slow multiple sclerosis progression. I'm going to go one step further. I've reversed multiple sclerosis in many individuals. Kenny's just one. But going back to that first day, when Kenny's wife brought him in so he could be assessed, those of you who for 28 years would come to the office at 83rd and Broadway, wonderful 3-story building, 110 years old, tall ceilings. And we had about 40 people, staff, working in just that center, plus the anti-aging center over on the east side at 92nd and 2nd, plus downtown, plus at the healing center at 72nd and Broadway. Had a lot, about 180 employees at one time, but doing good work, exciting. It was so exciting to wake up every day because all the good things we would discover by the end of the day. In any case, she came up the steps and she was upset. And I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "We want to be in your study, but we can't." I said, "Why?" She said, "Because I can't get him up the steps." "Okay, not a problem. We'll carry him up the steps." "Yeah, we'll carry him." I had a big guy working at the time, big, huge guy, and just nothing, boop, up. Well, today, Kenny is not only completely healthy, but 2 teams of board-certified neurologists who had worked on him previously and were preparing him for putting rails around his house so he could walk on the rails and then the railings on the bed, and also telling him what the end would be. They couldn't believe it, but there it was. Couldn't find the destruction in the myelin sheath. So all it takes is, remember, one, and not as an anecdote, real people with all the medical records. But let's see if we can find the clip. If we can't, call Kenny. Joanna's phone number. Let's get him on so he can tell his story. Far more compelling. And we have other people who can tell their stories. In fact, if anyone in the audience was in those studies, would like to call in and share your story, please do so. 888-874-4888. But I'm just showing you that you end up with bad bacteria and you can end with all kinds of illnesses and intestinal inflammation. That's what happens with the sugar and the yeast, and everything in our diet will impact positively or negatively that. Now, for those of you who are in college and you've got your final exams coming up, or midterms, and you're stressed. You're staying up late, you're not eating right, not eating healthy. What do? Well, according to a study at the University of South Australia, how about eating a handful of walnuts? Yeah, sounds ridiculous? No. Being a university student can sometimes feel like your stress level will go through the roof. And sometimes the workload overwhelms people. However, new research finds that eating just 2 ounces of walnuts per day may be able to help counteract the harmful effects of academic stress. And they put this into motion, did a whole study on it with 60 university students, and it was a randomized study. And they found one group consuming the walnuts or fatty fish, and the other group not. And then they had to provide blood and saliva samples and do a series of tests. And they measured their mental health, their mood, their overall well-being, sleep habits at 3 different times throughout the study. And they found that those who were having the walnuts or the fatty fish had better mental health, less stress, and less depression. And also they improved their metabolism by increasing total protein and albumin levels, which can also be protective against the harm of academic stress or cortisol. Right? Let's not call it academic stress, cortisol. But couldn't that also work for everyone else in every other office in the United States? Or yes, it could. We're a nation bereft of depression, anxiety disorders. We need to improve our mood. We need to reach a better overall health, especially as we're aging. In light of this, we need to get our, let's say, essential fatty acids. That's what's really doing it, because that impacts the brain. And finally, from Edith Cowan University, which is also in Australia, exercise is medicine for cancer, and every dose counts, even in late stages of the disease. It is well known that exercise has many benefits. I talk about it all the time. But according to Edith Cowan University researchers, they show that it's critically important to help beat advanced cancer. And they've done previous work showing this, but also exercise for 6 months changes the chemical environment in our body and suppresses the growth of cancer cells. And also, the team observed an increased level of proteins called myokines, myokines, which are produced by skeletal muscles and can suppress tumor growth and even help actively fight cancer cells by stimulating a range of anti-cancer processes in the body. This is good news. So we want to, and also this was shown by multiple examples. So let's start doing exercise every day to prevent cancer, lengthen our lifespan. But advanced cancers, yeah. And generally people kind of give up. Don't give up. No. In this study, 9 patients with late stage prostate cancer performed 34 minutes of highly intense exercise on a stationary bike with blood serum collected immediately before and after, and then again 30 minutes post-workout. The team found that the serum obtained immediately after the session of exercise contained elevated levels of anti-cancer myokines, resulting in suppression of the growth of prostate cancer cells in vitro by about 17%. So that's good news. Do you remember when I mentioned some time ago when I was in Germany, I wanted to go and personally spend a couple of weeks with the doctor who had the best cancer treatment in the world, Dr. Joseph Issels. And when I got there the first day, not one guy, a dentist from Chicago, was putting on his running shoes. And I said, "Where's everybody?" He's there up on the hill. So I went up there, and Issels was there, tall guy with a big, looked like a lion, had this big head of hair coming clear down to his shoulders. And he was having his team take blood. He then played the overture of 1812 and big loudspeakers. And this is with a lake, Tegernsee Lake in front of him, a major lake in Bavaria. And it just echoed everywhere. And it just brought goosebumps. Your hair stood up. And then he took it immediately afterwards. And there was a huge improvement in natural killer cell activity. And what really kills the cancer cells is natural killer cell activity. And it's not that you're producing more, you're getting a better production of what you have. So similarly, they were doing that with just the mind. And here they're doing it with the body. What if you did the mind-body together? You would increase the rate. And that's what I do with terminal cancer patients to help them. And I tell them, we got to get you up and exercise. No, I don't want to, I feel, but I said, but that's the whole point. You've got to change the way you're approaching this mentally and physically. Just some thoughts. That's the latest on health and healing. We're going to take a break and come right back. And by the way, throughout the day, like today, for example, I'm doing a series of filmed interviews on Zoom. Now, these are for a new documentary, and they're powerful documentary. And then we will edit these and put them on PRN.Live, GaryNull.com, but also on Rumble. Remember Rumble, and I've got like 4 different channels on Rumble. I've got self-empowerment videos, I've got health and nutrition videos, I've got hard-hitting investigative reporting, I've got all these different interviews. So you'll be able to see these interviews with remarkable minds. And you'll see the people who are in this exchange together. And so I've got a lot of them that I've been doing. In fact, I'm wrapping up the latest documentary. So I've got about 25 people I filmed. And these are heavyweights, all right, that you wouldn't see anywhere. These are highly acknowledged people at the top of their game. Now you can, if you want to, on a lot of different topics. Topic at the moment is what we can do with depression and anxiety and bipolar and other conditions that we call irreversible. And my guests say they've reversed. Wouldn't you like to know that? Go to Rumble and then look down the film library for Gary Null. All right? And also remember, PRN.Live, some of the finest progressive minds in America, every day, 24/7, sharing insights and information. I want to thank our team in New York because they're the ones who are always upgrading. We're upgrading, expanding our bandwidth, and to see that you're able to watch and or listen. Back in a moment. Please stay with us.
Are you tired of closed-minded programming? Well, look no further than PRN.Live, the home for progressive voices.